What's up, guys? It's Jensen. Welcome to another video. And y'all, Chicago got a legitimate quarterback. Chi-Town back in the Super Bowl conversation. We got Nick Foles now. And even though he's not Cam Newton, I think there are a lot of flaws with Cam Newton, a lot of risk. So when we go with the safe option with Nick Foles, I think there's a huge W for Ryan Pace and the Chicago Bears. This is going to be a franchise-changing move in my opinion. Because when we look at a guy like Nick Foles, what he did in Philadelphia, I think that's what we should expect. I think Jacksonville for him, that was a fluke, what we saw in Jacksonville. Let's look back at the situation. First of all, he played well in that first game before he gets injured against KC. He hurts his collarbone. Then when he comes back, the situation is completely different. We look at Jalen Ramsey dealt. That's like your best cornerback. That's like a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. We look at Tom Coughlin. He was under a lot of heat for what he was doing in Jacksonville. It clearly seemed like Jackson was dysfunctional. They were definitely headed toward a rebuild. So I think that what we saw in that stretch with Jacksonville toward the end of the season, that's not what we should expect from Nick Foles. I think that was a fluke. Sometimes a player just gets stuck in a bad situation like we've seen time and time again. But I think that what we should expect from Nick Foles is what we saw from Philadelphia. And what we saw in Philadelphia, we saw a dude who went to the Super Bowl after Carson Wentz gets hurt. First of all, he beats Atlanta in the playoff game. And then he crushes Minnesota, Case Keenum. He crushes that Cinderella story. Then he goes into the Super Bowl. He's being put up against the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. And he outplays Tom Brady en route to the Super Bowl. And this dude just came off the bench like a month ago for Philadelphia. He wins the Super Bowl MVP the next year. Things are trending down for Philadelphia. But then Foles jumps in. And they win 3 regular season games. They get a berth into the playoffs. And then they beat my Chicago Bears. Even though a lot of that credit could be given to Cody Parkey for the miserable words that we will not mention in Chicago ever again. And then he goes into the Superdome against the New Orleans Saints. Almost wins that game, if not for an Alshon Jeffrey drop pass. They might have gone down for the game-winning drive. So when we're looking at Nick Foles, that's the Nick Foles we should expect. Because the Matt Nagy offense, a lot similar to the Doug Peterson offense, because they both come from the Andy Reid coaching tree. Nick Foles knows this offense. He's going to act like a complete veteran. He's going to bring energy to the locker room. The fans will love him. Even though there's a lot of hate right now toward Nick Foles, the fans will love him. How can you not root for this guy? He's so humble, and he can come off the bench. He can start for them. He can do anything. He can catch fire. When he catches fire, there's no one in the NFL you'd rather have over Nick Foles, other than elites, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. But when Nick Foles catches fire, man, it's dangerous. And we saw that when he won the Super Bowl. We saw that when he got the Eagles in that playoff run that preceded it to almost to the NFC Championship game. That's the type of player Nick Foles is. We're going to see something similar in Chicago. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. A lot of run-pass option, I would presume, like we saw in Philadelphia. This could work out great. Having a guy like Allen Robinson, a true top-end wide receiver to throw to, is going to help. Even though Jimmy Graham was an overpay, I think that Nick Foles is going to be able to do a lot with a guy like that. Having a guy like Trey Burton, who was teammates with Foles in Philadelphia, obviously you get that chemistry there. That's going to be very nice. I think that David Montgomery, this dude is a true stud running back. We all don't realize it yet. When we see the way he runs, it's absolutely special. It's Le'Veon Bell-like, in my opinion, but Matt Nagy wasn't deploying him in the right situations. We're going to see David Montgomery step up. I think the Bears will address the offensive line. We're going to see a deadly combination of Nick Foles and David Montgomery as a play-action pass. It's going to be deadly in my opinion. I think that Tariq Cohen, a deadly weapon like that, he could have a career year next year. Imagine what a guy like Nick Foles is going to be able to do with a guy like Tariq Cohen. We're going to see Tariq Cohen truly unleashed, especially after he took a step back last year. I think that Tariq Cohen's going to have a big-time year. And don't forget about that defense. Now that the Bears have Robert Quinn to go with Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack going to be double teamed less. You still have Eddie Jackson. You still have Roquan Smith. Still have Kyle Fuller. And they put a second-round tender on Roy Robertson-Harris, a very underrated defensive lineman. This defense should be better than they were last year. And this defense was top 5 last year. I think that with Nick Foles as quarterback, he's one of these elite game managers. I think that he might even be better next year than Tom Brady because he's a little bit younger, but he's also similar type. A dude who's really good in the system. When the system and players are fit around him, this dude could be an upper half quarterback. And that's what I expect from Nick Foles. I think that It's changing times in Chicago, and the Bears are finally going to be a Super Bowl contender for real. I mean, nobody really thought of them as a Super Bowl contender with Trubisky, but when we look at Minnesota right now, without Stephon Diggs, there's question marks about that offense. The Detroit Lions, they're always miserable, even though they have Matthew Stafford and Kenny Golladay. I really like Kenny Golladay, and I think Matthew Stafford's great, but they're a depression pit. And when we look at the Green Bay Packers, even though they should still be considered the favorites, Aaron Rodgers is on decline. And even though I really like that team, even though I hate them as a Bears fan, but as an NFL fan, the talent there is really good. But when we look at Aaron Rodgers' decline, could the Packers take a big step back? It could definitely happen. So the Bears could easily win the NFC North next year, and nobody wants to see Nick Foles in the playoffs. So I think this is a game changer for the Bears. Fans may hate it now, but Chi-Town got a real quarterback. Y'all watch out. The other 31 teams in the NFL might watch out right now, because when we look at what Nick Foles can do, you might see him hold up a Lombardi trophy, but this time as a Chicago Bear. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'll be providing more NFL and NBA hot takes as the season goes on. And see y'all later. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Jensen Sports, as we keep up with the conclusion of NFL free agency. See y'all later.